Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Smudcast number 611, Why Live Action Anime Will Never Work. Now, it would be nice if I could sort of disagree and give good reasons as like examples of why it's possible, like technology or really good acting or really good source material. But we're talking about jumping from a medium to another. And it can be done. It's just never going to be done properly that will properly address the strengths and sort of mitigate the weaknesses of each media as you jump. So I don't know. I'm in the camp that if you can't do it even reasonably well, don't even bother. But at the same time, like I was excited to see Cowboy Bebop, or at least in principle. It's like, wow, they're doing a live action Cowboy Bebop. I can't wait to watch anything to do with that. That'd be my favorite thing ever. And then you saw the trailer and you're like, oh, no, that is not going to work out.
I'm not going to touch it even with a stick.
Yeah, it's kind of sad because you have all these favorite things that are sacred to you that you think are perfect. And Bebop happens to be one of them.
Let's destroy them one by one.
Well, you know you're going to be disappointed. Like I knew that going in because it's never going to be as good. The question is by how much. The thing is they did not have to do half the shit that they did. They could have copied it wholesale. They could have just said, "Okay, we're going to take every episode and we're going to make it live action." And they could have copied the camera angles, the music, the makeup, I don't care. And it still would have been a disappointment. But you'd be like, they did as close as possible. Like a comic book has the keyframes of animation, and you go to the anime or the cartoon. It's like, hey, they did it. You can see it. So that's fair. But with live but with live action, there's all these interpretation. There's all these directors. There's all these extra writers. There's all these actors. There's all these set designers. You've got makeup people, and oh my god, if I have to talk about one more time about Faye's outfit, or
Twitter's gonna melt down again.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, no one likes my opinion, so I don't really care anymore. Yeah.
The thing with live action is that as long as you at least try to be authentic, people are gonna say, "Well, you tried. It wasn't great, or it was massively flawed, but you tried." But if you don't try to be authentic, or deliberately try to be unauthentic, then the ice, I don't even know if the ice is thin. I don't think it's even there.
Yeah, like we could look at Lord of the Rings and go, okay, this is totally doable. You need a big budget, and they got one, and a clear interpretation of the lore. You have to cut stuff out. It can't be that big, of course. You can't adapt gigantic novels into 3 movies. It's not going to work. You have to cut it down. So that's what they did. And that was a huge task. That must have taken years to clean up and edit and get everything right and get all the sets going and all the CGI going. So that's impressive. But they had the time and they had the discipline to treat the lore and the source material properly. It doesn't matter how much money, for example, Netflix's Cowboy Bebop was given. In fact, I would argue that would be a detriment if they had even more resources to pull to do their job. So, and it comes down to everything. It comes down to the attention to detail of who they choose for the actors, the music, which apparently was right. Apparently the music was good. I don't know. I didn't watch it. But, there's something missing that didn't fit with the same vibe as the show. If you get the vibe, you get the feeling wrong, you're not dead in the water, but you're halfway there. And if you miss out on that tone, I think it was the Dutch angles that really messed me up. I was like, why is there so many?
Every single scene, every second scene has a Dutch angle. I counted it. Like, I started reviewing the 3rd episode and I just editing it, and the very first shot that you see is just the fish in a Dutch angle. It's incredible.
Oh.
Like that.
What
cinematographer? I was thinking, like, how can we make a stylized entrance at the Dutch angle? Like, come on.
But
There's so many other ways that you can do, like change the focal length or something.
What kind of genre were they aiming for with the live action? Because what they should have gone for is noir.
You know,
Well, my first idea was parody, but that's definitely not working for the show.
it almost felt like a 70s sci-fi bad flick because you saw the scenes in the Bebop. Like, it was kind of cheesy. I could appreciate that if they're going for that sort of cheap, we can't pull it off. We don't have a big budget sort of deal. We'll do the best we can with acting or whatever our strength is. And then you see all the set designs, like, that's okay. It's still cheap, but they're working with it. And then you see the CGI, it's like, okay, it's not bad. It's not horrible, but it's not bad. They got the water effects wrong. They got the lighting wrong. It's fine. It looks okay. Practical effects, not really, but not horrible. Again, there's all these things that it feels cheap, but they could work with it. The same with sci-fi from the 80s and 90s. With like Bad 5 always comes up in my mind. It's like, yep, they did a lot of great things that didn't have enough budget for this or that. Some costumes could have been better, but everything looked good. It felt good. The music was right on. The synth style worked so well with that 80s vibe. Like, it just felt good. So you sort of forgave that when you compared to like Farscape, which has amazing set design and all kinds of other crazy things going on. So every show had its strengths, and you can cover stuff up. Because it was an adaptation, though, you were thinking, okay, we need to have a serious episode. We need to have a goofy episode. We need to have this episode, that episode. And it never did that, as far as I could tell from people who've watched the show. Bebop never really had that, oh, now we're having fun. Now we're having dark, serious...
No, absolutely not.
Did NetBob ever have the drug episode?
Which drug episode? Like the mushrooms?
The mushrooms, the frog on the stairs.
The ad is only a last-minute addition to the series, thankfully. So we never saw the drug episode.
It's very strange. This is what I find very strange, because I would think that is the very thing that these writers would be obsessed by being happy to do.
No, well, there's no those kind of drugs, but instead you have like brothels or any other kinds of like sex places where they very regularly visit. Like there's like a sex scene as well between like Faye and random mechanic, which is just like it's a very odd show, really. It's like they didn't have a really good idea of like how to adapt the show, and they can't blame it on budget or other kind of issues. But like, really, if you have like an idea like Bebop, then you think like something more philosophical than like what the Ant Frog turned out to be. Because oh my god,
you should go with the philosophy of the original, and how that tackled whatever topic there is, if it does.
Well, even just translating like character like Gran into a full-blown non-binary person was just like
it's just replacing someone with an actual problem and tragic backstory into happy propaganda, love me.
Yeah, they didn't quite understand the characters. Not bad.
It is tough to cut down, was it 24 episodes to 10? 11? How many there were?
10, and almost all of them are like 40 to 50 minutes long.
So
I think like a few episodes are even an hour long.
So the thing is the episode count doesn't really translate, because you can put two storylines of like 2 episodes of the anime into 1 episode of this live action.
Jeez, that's like backwards. When you talk about writing and you're adapting, like, you want to get the essence of what the thing is, and don't do any extra work, because you're going to be bloating your budget. You're going to be wasting everyone's time. You'll be adding stuff that doesn't need to be there. Like, you would just imagine making an adaptation. You would have storyboards. Okay, here's the essence of episode 1 to 4. We're going to break that down into whatever, 2 episodes. Okay, what is it? Introduce Spike. Introduce what the Bebop does, what everyone does. Introduce the villain. Like, get that going. Like, get that pacing going, so you're not wasting anyone's time. Get the vibe. Oh, this is a fight scene. What's a fight scene? It's jazzy. It's fast. It's cute. It's cool. It's all these things. How do we capture that? Do we have an actor that can do that? Do we have the musician that can do that? Do we have camera that can do like a Hollywood shot, or a Hong Kong shot style that they just keep going in one shot? Like, these these are the things you have to think about. And if you don't get that, then it's just a bunch of shots for like in different angles that we just put together in any old style video that you're cutting, and there's nothing to it. So if you're not doing anything unique to show off what the original was, you're just doing camera angles. You're just doing cuts.
Mm-hmm. And that's a really good point, because I was looking into what exactly went for that budget, because the actress behind Faye is claiming that they had to train for half a year for the fight scenes.
Whoa.
And there aren't too many of those. The scenes that you see is that there's a fight scene where the first clash between Spike and Faye in the very first episode, which is really dumb to begin with, but that's she's crouching down and moving in the dirt with her knees. And you can't have that with the original outfit, so that's they had to compromise with that. But it just doesn't make any sense to me. And then there's a fight where they're literally in New Zealand, next to the shore, and she has to crouch down into grass. It's just is that really just an extreme environment for you to not do something like that? It's just apparently they have done so much of that, because I barely see any of it used in the show. What really comes down to is that John Cho does have a lot of moves, but he had 2 stunt doubles as well. So I'm wondering how much did he actually do, because there's a lot of those shots where you can see his face, but they are very much close up. So could it be the 2 other guys were the martial arts experts, and he was just trying to do it? It just doesn't really add up to me.
Yeah, John Cho, I don't think he was the right build per se. Definitely not the right face, obviously, because he looked older. He had the
old, and he didn't look that tall.
Yeah, you need a guy who's was he 6'3", 6'4", but lean. And
at least 6'2", yeah.
Ever watch the Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee, where he fights that tall karate guy, a guy like that, but doing Bruce Lee stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, there was a lot of appearance. I was okay, Faye's not perfect, but we'll work with that. Jet was fine. He looked good, aside from the actor in the skin tone. But that's, again, you take your concessions for whatever. They're going to change things up, okay? You see the acting and you're that doesn't feel like Spike. There's something there, but it's not quite enough. There has to be more mood. There has to be more. He has to be chill out more. He has to be calm more, quieter, not talking so much and making weird jokes about sex and food, and it's it doesn't quite add up to.
Yeah, it's quite I don't want to go on a tangent, but I was thinking adaptation wise, because I'm reading currently Lord of the Rings book as well, and I'm comparing it to the Jackson movie. And yeah, the very beginning, when Gandalf arrives at Bilbo's house, there's this very nice scene by Jackson where he doesn't want any visitors because he's too busy, but he eventually lets in Gandalf, and he's so happy to see him, a real friend arriving back. And then the pacing is completely different compared to the book, because in the book, Gandalf only questions Bilbo after he sees that he used the ring to disappear in front of all the hobbits, so they have absolutely no idea that where Bilbo could be. Is this the last time they see him? Because that was his farewell party. But it's they got this small scene where Bilbo tells Gandalf that I want to travel, Gandalf. I feel too old inside, and they broke that scene into 2, and it's a very nice character scene. But the Bebop show doesn't do that. They instead introduce more problems than it needs to be. Jet now has a daughter. Is what? The only thing that Jet had was a broken relationship. And it turns out that the woman was behind the fault entirely, because she didn't really cheat on Jet, but she pretty much just left Jet because she wanted to be more in control, and Jet was too commanding for her. It's just you translate that story that like Jet was all at fault. He was a criminal. So like that I didn't understand that, because like the story plays out in the live action just as in the anime, that Jet was cornered. He got shot in the arm, and he loses the arm here as well. And somehow they frame it on him that he was working with the syndicate, and he should be jailed for that. It's like, seriously, like how do you do that?
Did
How do you
Jet
do a
in the
story like
anime
this?
even have anything to do with the syndicate originally?
No.
Yes, you mean like the Jet backstory?
No, Jet in the anime, did he have anything to do with the syndicate prior to the show?
He had to do with the European syndicate. It's like in the anime there's like 3 or 4 different syndicates. Like there's the European syndicate, the Blue Dragon, and then the Red Dragon, of course, which Spike comes from. So it's like a lot larger world building from a cartoon show than in a live action. It's kind of hilarious.
All right.
It's not just like one big jumbo corporation that controls everything.
Here is a donation from No Cooney for Old Men, and then we're going to jump into the video. Let's also not forget the frankly vile portrayal of Vicious. The once cold, sinister force of nature psychopath is now a goofy, loud idiot who's a hitman because his dad was somebody. It's like casting Adam Sandler as Anton Chigurh.
It was more in the anime he's a psychopath, and in the show he's a weird sociopath.
He's like very. He's the worst. He's the absolute worst. Like villain wise, because like he sucks. He can't get his goals. Like always someone else has to do it for him, and then he always manages to backstab them. And this Vicious, like there's like the scene where he needs to betray the syndicate elders, and it's just him versus like the entire elite guard plus the elders. It's just, how the fuck can you pull that off? How the fuck can you fight through all of that? And he manages to like top like the Last Jedi throne room fight. It's just it's so bad.
It's more dumb anime-ish than the anime would be, because the Bebop anime is relatively grounded.
Yeah, like it is a silly scene even in the anime when like he escapes from almost being executed because his bird turns out to be like a bomb. But at least that is more believable than like what they have done in live action. It's really just, it comes down is that the live action was trying to like fast forward. At the same time, they were trying to like mix up like scenes from the early episodes, because like what the climax of the show is supposed to be like what episode 5 was in the anime, but like, it just doesn't make any sense because it was just like a side thing for the anime, like one of the events that Spike has to endure. But yeah, like I think like I have been rambling on for too long.
No, it's good.
All right, let's get started. This is a 12-minute video from some fellow named Nasu. He's got almost 83,000 subs, and this has almost 500,000 views from 5 months ago. All right, let's go.
All right, now Netflix is actively working on a live-action Yu Yu Hakusho series.
That's okay. You can keep it.
Animation is dope. The medium has given us some of the most creative and compelling pieces of art that could not exist in any other medium. For some time now, Japan has been at the forefront of the industry, producing some of the best works, along with some questionable ones. And anime has only gotten more popular.
Actually, that's like a really good point, like what he has done before, that like this medium just can't translate to live action at all. There's a movie called Perfect Blue by Satoshi Kon.
God.
Yeah. So like it is a controversial movie, but like the thing is that like he originally wanted it to be live action, but then he realized that like the budget for that would be just enormous. And the other thing is that like it just translates way better as an animation than live action, really. Just like, how would you do a scene like the one where the girl is running away and the psychopath is chasing her in the mirror, and it's just like a reflection of herself instead. Like you would need to like have like doubles and such a like, and this is like the mid 90s, if I believe correctly.
Yeah, and it would be really hard to pull off in live action. The film trick, it's different film tricks. You have way more freedom, and it's easier to translate it in animation, also because you can play more with the colors. And maybe that's a bad way to put it, but it's how it comes across to me, because you have everything is more defined if you wanted to.
Yeah.
It's better
also like the enormous amount of gore that you have in that show.
Oh yeah.
I'm very curious
that
about
that last scene is stuck in my head.
I'm curious about what people think of like the Attack on Titan and the Full Metal Alchemist adaptations. Like, what was?
I think all I remember is that it was very lukewarm reaction. That's all.
I know.
Did
nothing.
anyone watch that? Because I keep forgetting these things even exist.
Exactly. I know nothing about them. I heard about them. I'm like, I'm staying far away from that. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to see it. But apparently, they existed. People liked them, and that's all we know. Like, I can't imagine getting a critical review that made any sense from Death Note. So you wouldn't want to be like, oh yeah, it's a great show. It's like, are you serious right now? Can I listen to you in a logical fashion that won't make me hurt my brain? So
what I take from these is that they're usually in just the same way as these other remakes, whether it's cartoons or something else, or what was the other thing? I've had a long day. Yeah, when they continue a franchise now with and they just change everything about everything. So whether that's the He-Man thing, whether that's Picard, whether it's basically the same stuff as these adaptations now are doing. So it's replacing all the core elements, all the characters with others, and they slap the names on and then expect everyone to take it as this is the real thing, and it doesn't look like it. Even if you got the original actors, it doesn't look, feel, sound like the original.
Yeah, try
because there's none of it in it.
Try looking for like Google images for Attack on Titan live action. It's completely forgettable. Like, that doesn't look right. That doesn't even. I wouldn't even want to watch that. The Titan design looks weird. It's like, I don't really care anymore. It's creepy enough when you see when you watch the first episode, you're like, oh my god, that's a giant creature who's, bipedal and whatever, looks human, but that's why it's freaky, because it gives it that sort of not quite human look, and it messes with your sense of identity of what that thing could be, and you're like, oh, it's scary, it's going to eat you. Okay, fine, it's a horror story. And then it has all this other bullshit with plots and characters and a city that is the last vestige of humanity, and like some experiment gone wrong, and there's all this mystery, and you're like, okay, this is too much.
Experiment gone wrong? What? That's not Attack on Titan.
Well, stuff happens. I don't want to remember it.
So they changed the story. Instead, the already bad story.
Anyway, yeah. Let's keep going.
Popular in recent years. I've been watching it for basically my whole life. Some may call me a weeb. I prefer anime enjoyer. But in all my years of anime enjoying, you know what's never happened? When I'm watching an angsty teenage boy dual-wielding box cutters and using his gas-propelled grappling hooks to charge towards a naked man-eating giant, the last question on my mind is, hey, I wonder what this would look like in live action. But I was still blessed with an answer. And that answer was... Back in 2020, the year that keeps on giving, Netflix announced that a live-action Yu Yu Hakusho series was in the works. No. I didn't think much of it, but I honestly should have known better than to call Netflix on their bluff, because they fully intended to deliver.
Like, I haven't looked into the staff for that show, but I have a feeling that some of those people who were working on the Cowboy Bebop show have went over to work on the Yu Yu Hakusho show. Because like if they announced it in 2020, then that means that like the same people might be behind it.
Well, aren't they doing the One Piece as well? Like I heard that was a...
Yes, they are. They are.
How?
And that's gonna come out very soon.
How is that even...
Why do they get all these projects and continue to get them when they are all just money graves?
I know that like some of the writers for the Bebop show got fired, but like I don't know like if all of them, probably not.
Well, if they can't
Because
do...
like
I'm just thinking... If
go ahead.
You need to fire the writers. You need to fire the PR team. You need to. I don't even know who not to fire.
Yeah, but if you can't do Bebop, how the hell are you going to do Yu Yu Hakusho or anything? Like, Bebop is the most, like, outside of the spaceships, I guess, and the set design, it's the most grounded one. It's most realistic. It's got, people in spacesuits at best. So
yeah, it's not really difficult to adapt like Bebop, like from that standpoint. That like how much like budget do you need for that? Like One Piece and Yu Yu Hakusho, like both of them are shonens. Like that's gonna be enormous.
The fight scenes are going to be astronomically bizarre. The magical powers, people that are like the size of buildings. It's just like what is a good design for a scene in One Piece where you're fighting on a boat? There's giant waves and people are turning to stone and all kinds of crazy stuff. Like, it's just nuts. So in Bebop, you got a shootout. You got a bunch of people kicking and punching each other. So, well, if you want to be a little creative, you have a church involved. But other than that, a grenade might go off. And they screwed up my favorite scene in anime too. Is just by seeing a trailer, I was like, oh. Or sorry,
Okay, I think Ego Dreamer apparently has seen the Attack on Titan live action movie and soon hopes to forget about it.
Oh yeah. Oh well. It happens. All right.
And just a couple weeks ago, Netflix revealed the main cast for the upcoming series, and the images sent me into a Winter Soldier episode where I was forced to relive past war crimes against animation.
Oh no. Oh, look at that rock. Wow.
By the way, this was made by
ILM.
ILM.
Is nothing new. It's been happening for decades.
No way.
And the incentive...
Yes, wait, it is made by ILM, and their excuse was that like, well, we were overloaded, so this is all we could do.
What amazing earth bending that was. I was so impressed.
We didn't really want to work on it.
Okay, here's Kyogris' hideout. How's it going, buddy? Apparently, the One Piece live-action director is an actual fan, so that one could be decent, but even then, I don't think it could be anything amazing.
This is all over. Okay, like the creator, like I don't know, like what is his position? Director?
Yeah, the director is a fan. That's all I know.
Okay, because like I remember when they were telling us the same shit with Cowboy Bebop that like the entire cast loves it. John Cho even said that like he doesn't want to work on this unless they get Yoko Kanno to make the music again. It's like come on, fuck on, like. This is the same bullshit all over again. We're not gonna buy into this shit again.
It's just a ruse.
And
And on top of that, I will say this is a personal thing, but these rubber stretchy powers always look shit in live action.
Yeah, you're right. I remember seeing that. I don't know if you guys remember the made-for-TV show of Generation X, which was the late 90s or early 2000s. They took the Generation X comic book, which was my favorite at the time because I'm a geek, and they warped them around. There's a character called Skin, and his skin, he could stretch his skin like 6 feet or whatever from his body, and there's all these stretchy skin powers, and it's kind of gross, but it looked like rubber, so like Plasticine Man. Anyway,
Plasticine.
yeah, he's like, that's not skin, that's rubbery Gumby Man or something. Anyway.
Pretty obvious. Creating something from scratch is generally more difficult than remaking or iterating on an existing property. The same goes for sequels and reboots. Existing IPs already have established worlds, characters, and magic systems, but most importantly, a built-in audience. The sudden influx of superfluous Star Wars and Marvel content is no coincidence. I mean, that Disney Plus library ain't gonna fill itself up. Their most popular franchises and classic films are prime candidates for milking. Hollywood as a whole has set the precedent that nothing is sacred. Anything and everything will get additional content that nobody asked for. And in the past decade,
Can we
they've
get
really
like a
set
Song
their
of the
sights on
South live
Japanese
action?
animation.
Oh,
With
wait.
shows like Attack on Titan and Demon Slayer, propelling anime into the mainstream, millions of new viewers are gonna go looking for more anime. And it's a no-brainer for media companies to try and capitalize on that. Anime has grown beyond just being on Crunchyroll, and major streaming services want a piece of that pie. Hulu cutting a deal with Funimation to stream shows that they license. Netflix buying exclusive streaming rights to Evangelion for a rumored $3 million.
Why?
And Amazon tried to step in with Anime Strike. Y'all remember that shit? Rest
Nope.
in peace.
What is
But
that?
Netflix in particular had another idea on how to
What?
capitalize on the anime craze.
Relax, Light. You're asleep. You're asleep and you're dreaming of some 8-foot-tall, demon-looking motherfucker.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Live action adaptations
No, no.
are something that have been tried and failed
No.
again and again and again. So why is it that these films and shows are so consistently bad? Are the people behind them just so horribly incompetent and they would actually work with a better cast and crew?
Incompetent
While
and
sometimes
malicious.
the case, I honestly think the reason
What
is
is
far
this
simpler
trailer?
than
This-
that.
this is
Live
horrible. I
action
haven't
anime
seen this before.
adaptations Just
You've
don't
never seen that? This is what
I've never seen this one.
this is what made me stop watching this, or stop from wanting to watch it. This was the Steven Universe, not Steven Universe. What's that? This trailer was borrowed from. The guy,
I know what you mean.
the guy has to fight like 7 boyfriends from this girl.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, you know what I'm talking about. All right, it's fine. As long as you know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
I was like, what the hell are they doing with the frickin' black paneling? What is this stupid bullshit? This wrong movie. So anyway,
Scott Pilgrim. Scott
There
Pilgrim
you
versus the
go.
World.
Yes.
thank you.
Yes.
That's what.
I typed
Very
into
good.
Google that guy needs to fight 7 boyfriends.
Yeah, that was it. I was like, this is not. Why would you guys use that? You don't even
Because
need-
it's a comic book and we gotta go like flashy about it.
If you watch any of the advertisements that Japan did for Cowboy Bebop, all they did was show clips. You show clips from the show. It just a little bit here, a little bit there.
Yeah.
It's
Here's a member berry.
boom. Oh, it's Spike.
Here's some
He's
thing.
he's got headphones on. He pulls out a gun. Oh my God, what's that scene? And then he cuts to Faye, and she's doing Faye stuff, and she's on the toilet. Oh my God, I know that scene. And then you just go to another scene. Here's a dog. That's all you need, and you got me hooked. I'm like, no, I gotta watch it. Not what the hell is this? No name junkyard brawl in the like. Where are they? I don't know. What is this? So anyway, turned me off instantly.
I can totally understand.
primary factors that make the best animated films so
See, this would have been awesome. Give John Cho a stick. I'm like, oh, I get it. He's fighting some hot chick. Yes, I know what this is about. Or at least, they're trying to have an homage to that.
Yeah.
That would be
But
cool.
when
Look,
the
he
hottest
looks-
chick
he
in
looks
your
solid.
show is supposedly Faye. Oh man, no.
No.
great, the fact that they're animated. Just like how certain scripts are better suited for the stage rather than the screen, some stories just lend themselves to the medium of animation. In 1981, 2 Disney animators introduced the 12 basic principles of animation, which are still used to this day. Of these 12 principles, there are 2 that I want to highlight: squash and stretch, and exaggeration. Squash and stretch is when an object or even a character's features are elongated or compressed to emphasize speed, momentum, and weight. Exaggeration is when an expression or action is taken to the absolute limit to really sell you on it. These 2 principles are why you get freeze frames like this, end this. When people isolate these kinds of shots, they will often go LMAO, XD, his neck is literally broken, trash animation, L plus ratio, young boy better. They're kinda missing the point. Animation isn't meant to be viewed frame by frame, and these impossibly distorted in-betweens exist as just a single part of an entire motion. When played back in full, the scene has a sense of speed and fluidity that would be lost with more realistic movement. Prioritizing conveying the feeling and impact of a scene over adhering to realism works in animation.
Okay, that's all true, but when you talk about Bebop, everything's...
Yeah, but that's just the point that you can't. That this is the stuff you can't translate to live action.
Oh, that's totally
That's why it's
understand.
all missing.
Yeah, he's all right.
It's like Lion King to this weird. Oh, we make the animals look realistic 3D thing.
That's why if they were to introduce Ed early on in the live action and Ed's doing her dance or whatever, it'd be like, okay, yeah, I get it. You can't do what Ed's doing in the show because it's impossible. So have a goofy girl who's just gyrating or whatever. It's fine. But if you do that, you're like, that doesn't, like, you're going to turn people off because that's not Ed. What the hell? What's happening? It doesn't make any sense. So they have to do realistic, hard cutting or hardcore style, believable looking shots, like either noir, like hard noir, like dark, or keeping it, have those light moments where you could breathe. And you watch a few clips and you're just like, that's not even close to what Bebop feels like. And then there's an action scene. You're like, why are they fighting? How are they, like the fight scene with Spike in the bathroom with some assassin was just it was dumber than the one in Mission Impossible with all those guys fighting in the bathroom. It was like, what is it? What are they doing? Are they trying to kill each other? Just like slap each other around? Like, I didn't understand what the heck was happening.
Yeah.
Are they aiming at each other? I don't know. Anyway.
Because itself makes the scene feel more realistic. Anime fight scenes aren't bound to the same rules as
I wouldn't say realistic, but more believable. That's like kind of like a mistake that like a lot of people might make. Like, it doesn't need to be realistic. Like, it doesn't need to be like totally grounded to earth. It just needs to be believable in the context of the animation or the fiction. I mean,
and that's for classical, like 2D. If you look at the 3D animation that you see in various anime, there's all kinds of bad examples. But you can't do
endless.
Yeah, you can't do like exaggeration at any real element. I remember the animators of League of Legends, when they do those really, really expensive 2-minute whatever clips every year. They take a tune and they put them over here. One guy was like, okay, we're gonna. They have the same proportions, but they say this is a scene where Twisted Fate is going to throw some cards, but they say we're going to slow it down and show you. Here we break his spine so he bends at a certain angle to make it look more dramatic, and his cape is flying. Like they'll explain that. Oh yeah, we had to like do things a little differently. But other than that, they're not exaggerating. They're just stretching the model to make it look cooler. But you don't see that because it happens so quickly, as this guy was saying. You don't see it frame by frame. So the techniques are still there, even if it's supposed to be...
It's basically the same thing that in-betweens do. It just helps you to process what's going on, and by doing these things, it looks cooler.
It feels more like action cool.
More live.
Yeah.
They're more experienced, so they can just break the rules at any time.
Yeah, if you could do it so quickly that it feels fluid, I think that's a good technique to allow the eye to show exaggeration of someone just throwing cards like it's a weapon. Okay, throw it really dramatically. Have a really good pose, a really good camera angle, nice lighting.
Anyway. Yeah, and I mean that's kind of ironic about the thing that by doing these unrealistic things, it makes it look more alive.
You have to in some cases with 3D.
I find that really interesting.
Yeah.
Real life, and when they try to choreograph a fight straight to live action, it just ends up looking like
Netflix, listen up. This is how you do it.
Awesome! That was awesome.
Yo, wait a minute, this shit is kind of fire. Anime characters can move like rubber, so you can imagine a story about a boy.
See, this is. I think this was Nigerian cinema, Nollywood.
Really?
And they make thousands of movies every year. They're all super low budget shit, but they make thousands of them. It's like they're like a couple levels behind Bollywood, and especially in the last few years, Bollywood has gone like on par, if not beyond Hollywood, also because they actually write interesting stuff, enjoyable stuff. But Nollywood is just all this very cheap, basic tricks, simple stories, short movies, and it's hilarious. It's interesting, and I recommend everyone to check it out. You will find very, very. If you look for alternative film,
and shot on an
go
Android,
check that out
on an Android device from like 3 years ago or something.
It's great, and so this is for all the people who complain that Western cinema is dead, or cinema in general is dead. Like, go check out other countries. They make stuff. Just like Japan does stuff, Korea does stuff.
Yeah, there's more than Disney out there.
It's good. Yeah. There's more out there than Hollywood.
Boy, who is literally made of rubber, is better suited to be adapted to animation and not real life. Meanwhile, a series of fantasy novels with a heavy focus on politics and a bit of soft magic lends itself to being adapted into a live-action drama series. Different stories, different mediums. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse's low frame rate animation and line work meant to emulate the style of comic books is only possible because it's animated. On the topic of comic books, because I know somebody's going to bring it up, what about comic book movies? Look at the MCU. They can successfully adapt comics to the big screen, so why not anime? To which I say, American comics function very differently from manga, and as such, so do their adaptations. Manga tends to be created from the vision of a single author, who's usually also the artist. While they don't always start with an end in sight, they do eventually end, most of the time. Marvel and DC Comics, however, feature characters made decades ago that are regularly reimagined by different writers and artists, each with their own interpretations of the characters. Although they tend to have consistent narrative frames, they're not bound to any single continuity. What is and is not canon depends entirely on which universe you're talking about. To the vast majority of people, comic book characters are just pop culture icons. You don't have to have ever picked up a single comic book to be familiar with Spider-Man's origin story. Shit, I knew a girl in high school who looked me dead in the eyes and asked me what's the difference between Marvel and DC while wearing a Superman crop top. Comic characters differ from a character like, say, Naruto, who despite having no shortage of non-canon material, is still closely tied to a single continuous narrative. An industry built around continuously reimagining characters unsurprisingly works as material to be reimagined into live action. Also, the MCU still has to make major changes to make the characters transition smoothly, and this is very evident in the costume design. Superheroes wear some goofy ass shit, and episode 6 of WandaVision demonstrates just how weird it would look if the costumes were taken one for one from the comics. Character designs have to be altered and subdued, or the audience's suspension of disbelief goes out the window. They have to convince us that in the context of this world,
I agree that like to some extent, like you have to change the costumes if it's like just like too weird or too revealing for like an everyone rating. But like a lot of pitfalls that like Marvel redesigns and like DC redesigns especially fall into is that like they overcomplicate some simple costumes. Like I think like every iteration of like the MCU movies, like the costumes just got like more and more complex, even though like they just have like a very straightforward design otherwise.
Yeah, like Blade.
Yeah, I think the 4-1 is the most obvious one because it starts out relatively grounded in the colors and everything, and now we get this weird, brightly colored cartoon thing.
Yeah, if you see Wanda in the comic, she has this giant crown sort of thing on her head, and it's just unnecessary. So it's like, okay, tone it down. That makes sense. The same with the first X-Men movie with Wolverine, and they're making a joke about yellow spandex or whatever. It's like, yeah, you wouldn't be wearing that at night. So that makes sense.
I have another question. I even have a question, an in-universe question about that. Because Asgard got destroyed, they lost all their pre-existing technology. They would have to rebuild everything, and all they do is now live in this, like a couple people living in this Icelandic village where you don't see that they have any of their Asgard tech. that they rebuilt or anything. So where does 4 get his new shiny awesome shit from?
eBay or Amazon.
Space eBay.
Depending on who sponsored that Disney movie.
ILM?
ILM.
You ordered it from ILM.
ILM is like legit like a character in the show.
I know, it's where the superheroes order their stuff. They just order it from in-universe Hollywood.
This is George Lucas delivery guy. He goes, okay, you wanted another hammer? Okay, here's a hammer. Here you go.
World, people willingly dress like this. This concept seems to be something foreign to live-action anime, as the costumes usually come out looking like mediocre cosplay. Anime designs can get pretty outlandish, and any attempt to faithfully recreate them in real life results in a cast of colorful clowns. Regardless of how good any given actor is, if they pull up on screen rocking that Yugi Moto hairstyle, the show becomes impossible to take seriously.
I don't want to see this live action.
Cat is
The
literally
entire style is
into
not
his hair,
translatable.
but anime characters aren't just exaggerated.
I want to see
in their
JoJo live
appearance and
action.
movement.
That I think in the live action they have tried to do the same thing, but it was really stupid. Wait, I gotta look up some pictures of Part 4 because like they have made a live action of JoJo Part 4,
Yes, the
but
hair.
not the other parts.
The pompadour is amazing. It's like a living being on that man's head. It's incredible. It's like an alien, just like shiny this pipe on this man's head. You're like, holy crap, is that? It's like that. The thing with JoJo is it's such a crazy. Like you can't do certain things obviously in live action that JoJo's does, but the suits, the poses, the camera angles, like just the vibe, you can get the vibe going, I think. And CGI all the stupid special effects if you want. But the fighting, like it's just gonna be over the top. Like imagine a guy throwing a drop kick and be like, whoa, and then they slow down the frames or whatever. Like that's fun. That'd be fun. That's the spirit of JoJo. It's over the top, crazy fashion, action, 80s, like it just, that would work. I think that would work okay. To a degree, not 100%, but pretty close.
Okay, I found it. I'm posting it as stream memes.
Oh yeah, we'll go to the stream memes. You guys will see what I mean. It's
All
so
right.
crazy. That hair. Anyway.
But also their personalities. Eccentric, over-the-top characters are a staple of anime that can only really exist within the medium. It's incredibly jarring when you see a live-action actor trying to embody the same. You know what? Let me just show you.
Yes, you are. You're Spike, cowboy, bounty hunter for hire. Wake up! I have
Speaker!
We have to find Bellagio.
I just want to shoot her.
You bad thing.
For the more fantastical aspects of anime that can't be done in real life, they're made with CGI, which, if you weren't aware, is
is
also
this?
a form of animation.
Assassin
So if you
Classroom.
have to already rely so heavily on animation, why not go all the way and just let something be 100% animated? Look at the 2019 live action Lion King, an adaptation of an animated musical drama that doesn't feature a single human character. Elon Musk has yet to make good on his promise to make Catgirls, so we don't quite have synchrony dancing animals just yet. As a result, 3D animation has to carry this film. Aside from the opening scene of a sunrise, the movie was entirely made using CGI. Modern visual entertainment has this obsession with hyperrealism, even though it doesn't always work to the product's benefit. Lion King's original 2D animation allowed the characters to be extremely expressive and, well, animated. When I see these realistic lions flapping their gums, it doesn't look to me like they're singing. It just feels like I'm watching a wildlife documentary with Beyonce singing the background music. Seeing true-to-life animals acting like humans looks hella jarring and lands right in the uncanny valley because animals don't do that. When you see Wile E. Coyote pull a 200-pound anvil out of his foreskin, chase a roadrunner in Mach 3, fall to his death, and then walk it off like a minor inconvenience, you're not taken out of it. Given the absurd nature of the cartoon, it's what you've come to expect. But no matter the in-universe rules, when you're dealing with hyper-realism, you expect things to behave realistically, and if it doesn't, it just looks disturbing. Some things just fundamentally cannot work in live action, but that doesn't mean that anime has no place in live action filmmaking. It's led to some of Hollywood's greatest movies, not through adaptation, but inspiration. The Matrix film series borrows heavily from Ghost in the Shell. Its themes, atmosphere, and aesthetic are all incredibly reminiscent of the 1995 film, yet The Matrix still remains distinct. Christopher Nolan's Inception draws from Satoshi Kon's Paprika. Another Kon film, Perfect Blue, inspired Darren Aronofsky's Black Swan and Requiem for a Dream. Guillermo del Toro's Pacific Rim pays homage to kaiju and mecha anime like Evangelion. All of these films make for better live-action anime than any direct adaptation. If you want a movie that more closely adheres to the source material, there's Edge of Tomorrow, which adapts the Japanese light novel All You Need Is Kill. Instead of adapting anime, an audiovisual medium, into another audiovisual medium, adapting a book inherently adds something new to the story. Since the novel didn't already have an anime, the studio was free to change up elements that wouldn't work in live action without any backlash. Good luck trying to make Zoro without bright green hair and not getting death threats from fans. Or good luck trying to give Zoro bright green hair without it looking completely ridiculous. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Making live action anime will always be a losing battle because you can never please everybody, if anybody.
Well, that's a point regardless of what you're trying to do. Like, if you're adapting anything, it's like it's not 100% the material. And then there's the nitpickers, and then there's people who are the hardcore fans. Well, this and that. Then you have the people who say, well, at least they have something, and you're like, okay, but why did they remove this element? Why didn't they?
Yeah, as long as they are like honest about the adaptation, it should be fine.
Yeah, making a perfect adaptation is a high bar, let's say. That's something I think that's something good to aim for, but I don't think it's one of these things you can reach.
Yeah, like nitpicky would be the sword from Lord of the Rings when they reforged the sword, right? So it's like, okay, people have to understand it was the sword that was broken, and there's pieces of it, and I think it poisoned one of the was it Frodo or someone? I can't remember who it poisoned, but they reforge it, right? And then you see the blacksmith explaining, well, this is not how you reforge a broken sword. This technique wouldn't work. Then you're like, well, it's ancient elves, whatever. They got some magic bullshit. So, like, you have to do the thing that makes sense to the most people. So you're gonna alienate.
Well, it's a funny thing in that very thing is explained in Wheel of Time, because one of the three main characters, one of the three main characters is a blacksmith, so an apprentice, and he is pretty skillful, and the whole problem is about, in the last age, the Age of Legends, the prison of the Dark One, like the ultimate incarnation of evil in the universe that exists, that drives all evil, was there was a hole put into it because people thought it's an energy source. And that's why we have all this horrible stuff going on now. And the goal of the main character is to reseal that hole because the old seals are getting, breaky. And by the end, the spoilers, so we need to cut out now. He asks his blacksmith apprentice, like, I've been thinking about it. Like, this is if I just reseal the thing with just make new seals, they're just gonna break again, and we have all this shit over and over again with like every couple thousand years. That's stupid, right? How could you remake? Can you remake that? And his blacksmith friend then tells him, well, if a sword is broken, you don't try to put the pieces back together because then you have the weak points. That's the seals. You just melt the thing down entirely and forge it anew.
Pretty much.
And that is the very thing that then the main character does. He basically seals the hole completely so that it is as if the entire prison of the Dark One is anew.
10,000 times for the Nihon blade.
Okay.
This is because they're all shit.
Here is Call of Booty. Hey, how's it going? The actress for Ed is way too old. Okay. If she was a few years younger, I could understand the over-the-top quirks. Also, they made Faye Latina when she was Chinese and changed her personality to a foul-mouthed lesbian who betrays people. Curious.
Isn't she from Singapore?
Oh,
Well, I guess that's Chinese, but
Yeah. The black guy who played Jet, I could really see him in a live action of Black Lagoon.
yes. I'm waiting
he
for
would
that.
be much more suited for that. But too bad that I don't think that they will ever do that.
See, that would be the not the easiest, but in terms of like animation, like there are some stupid over the top shit in Black Lagoon, like that the samurai guy fighting the chick with the gun. It's like, no, that wouldn't work. But you know,
Or the Nazi shit.
Or the Roberta who just is a freaking Terminator. Yeah.
Oh, that's a late edition, and she's the hyper anime part of the show.
But all this stuff on boats,
without her, it's relatively grounded.
Yeah, all this stuff with like drugs and boats and shootouts and bar fights, like that's so easy to do. You just have a grimy series. You could do 1-to-1. You could have each episode be one live action episode. Would work fine.
Up until you get to the maid part.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have that. You wouldn't need that high of a budget.
Yeah, you get all the same, like the Japanese salaryman bloke. Get any random dude that'll be fine. Get any swearing. You could have had Daniela Pineda be Remy or Revi. That would have been fine. You could do all these things that are so easy to pull off. Get lots of guns, get lots of bullets, get lots of explosions. It would be fun to watch. Be dark as hell. Be gory at times.
But we would portray Singapore as a horrible place.
That's because parts of it is.
That's not politically correct.
Oh God! Ever watch a documentary on Taiwan and Singapore and all these other cities and countries? Wow, the poverty! Holy hell! Anyway, we're almost done this video, guys. It's amazing. What a great video!
Yeah, it's not a bad video, I have to say.
Yeah.
Good tea from the golden triangle, I can tell you that. But I would never want to get even close to that place.
Okay.
The anime will always be there, so another version of the story that removes it from the context of the art form it was designed for has a 1-in-1 chance of being worse. Cause like the old saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fucking touch it, Netflix. I rest my case. See y'all in the next one.
That was good.
Good stuff.
All right.
This guy's good. This guy's good. I like him. He's chill. He's not going over emotional. He has good comedic timing. He slips in a dry joke at some point that you can miss. I like that. I think he's good.
Yeah, not as exaggerated with his jokes as other creators too.
So at least just judging from this video, he's good. But the video on the right that suggested here villains that were low-key onto something, like Thanos. No, he wasn't. It's just another guy who doesn't understand Thanos. Movie Thanos was just another guy who doesn't understand ecology, and nobody ever taught him.
I'm a bit concerned about this strange Bebop joke.
Which one?
I can't work. All this stress is bad for the baby, and then Faye's like, "What baby?" And Spike's like, "Me." Like, okay, all right. Not sure.
Oh, you're on memes. Damn.
Not sure Spike would have said that, but maybe. I hope you guys not only see me as retarded and a serious danger to society, but also a friend. Oh my. Here's another one. Nice argument, lunkhead. But why don't you back it up with a source? My source is that I made it the fuck up. Okay. Thank you, random whoever made this. Oh dear.
Yes, this actually happened. Like Master Roshi is teaching Goku the Kamehameha, and it's just to light a candle in the lantern.
What?
Yes, he has to train the Kamehameha by lighting candles in lanterns.
Wow.
Just look at his posture. That's the posture alone is what he should be slapped with bamboo sticks for an entire day.
The director was off the rails. he really was unsuitable for this shit.
This is bizarre.
Like, it's okay. That actor has never done martial arts. He has no poise. It's pathetic. It's oh god.
This is how they did it. What? They shaved his head? Why?
Yes.
Why would they shave his head? I don't get it.
But because then you can put a hat on that has some hair attached to it, so it looks like they are bending with each other.
Okay.
Apparently you can play around better with the hair then. It's my guess for this.
This is so weird. I don't know why they did that, but okay.
I don't know. I don't know if you could make it work with hair on. What I would assume.
Okay, Jean-Luc, that's a bit too much, I think. That is just...
That's too much.
That's too much.
I don't get the joke here.
You don't need that. Like she can kill herself with just one gun. She will just shoot at like objects and it's gonna ricochet off and back to her.
What is water bending? What is happening? It's some guy waving his hand around. Oh dear. Oh. All right, enough memes. I think we're good. Oh boy.
Yeah.
That was chill.
That was relaxing. I'm gonna drink and relax even more. Nice, busy day for me. I don't know about you guys, but yeah, I took a nap. That's why I was a bit later today. So, need more sleep. But thanks for tuning in. That was fun. I like this guy. Good video. I'm still in the same camp. I just can't see it working out, even with all the CGI budget in the world. And even if you have the best adapter, I know it sounds kind of weird, to have a writer who just takes what they created, let's say the original writer of the anime, and knows how to produce a live action show, and does the best he can, and you're still going to lose something. You're going to lose something in the transition. And even in Lord of the Rings, I wasn't disappointed, but the stuff I really wanted in the Lord of the Rings was not there. So
no. It was everything just not Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. So, anyway, yeah, it's depressing, but we just have to put more money into Japan. That's it. Like, have them do all the media from now on until, I don't know, Hollywood dies or gets bought out by Japan and they do better stuff. I don't know. I don't know how that works.
And then Japan will be taken over. Then Japan will be taken over by the woke, and then we will watch Bollywood.
No,
and then Nigeria will come up, and then then Bollywood will be taken over, and then we just watch Nigerian movies.
I don't think Japan's gonna get bought out. They're not gonna give a shit. They don't care.
I mean, like this year
to run the
alone, we're gonna have the second episode of Who Killed Captain Alex. What else can you ask for?
You guys
After 13 years, they finally released a sequel.
Oh God! Oh, that cover art was more than enough for me. For Captain Alex. Anyway, thanks guys. Have a great evening. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.